All right, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare again with you on the 13th of August, 2024. I'm joined as usual by psychic medium and remote viewer Liz Cross. How are you doing this morning, Liz?
It's very early. Thank you for being a good sport. Um, Sir Rowley.
Mark
Where do we
Rowley.
start? Where do we start? So I'll preface this by, for those of you that don't know, I used to work for the London Metropolitan Police for a very long time, and so did my husband until we relocated back to the USA. Well, I came back, he moved over with me, and this is all very interesting to
Yeah.
me. Mr. Shakespeare's like, yeah. So
Well, I've all for our Discord readers, I've already gone through to this, and I mean, so he's been kicking up a storm by. All right, let's wind back. So there's been problems in England. There were three children that were killed. There's that started some problems and protests. There's very definitely at an institutional level that's been manifesting itself over the last few weeks. So this is obviously from orders up on high, probably above his pay grade, because this has been done very, I mean, I can't imagine that the morale. I mean, there are some people in the police who will just do it blindly. I mean, I can't imagine that the morale has. So anyway, this guy came out the other day, or last week, or whenever it was, in response, I think we believe, to a tweet that Elon Musk put out on his ex Twitter platform about basically what's going on in the UK. Is there going to be civil war? Now, we know from an earlier probe that Musk came out with this not just because he could see what was going on, but the algorithms on his platform. Bear in mind, his platform now is probably the only place where you can have any form of discourse that's anywhere near the truth. Everywhere else is still locked down, but Twitter is not. So you can sort of say things on there. And a lot of people have in England and Wales and Scotland have been complaining about this and saying, migrants are coming in, they're doing this, they're getting all free accommodation. Now, we've been through this, we know why they are. Um, we've had this on an earlier probe. But I think what irked a lot of people, and this is the point of this probe, is that he basically came out saying that he has, that people who do any form of speech online that could be deemed, racially inciting or trying to cause some kind of trouble, could be arrested and imprisoned. And they've certainly done that. There was a chap, young guy, who was basically processed and imprisoned within 5 days. Now that's unheard of. So that was obviously a signal. That was obviously something to put out there in the ether. But this guy came out and said that not only has Britain's got something to be worried about with the most draconian rules that they're thinking of introducing, but they could also go after other people. Now, he didn't mention Musk directly, I don't believe, but the inference was that Elon Musk could be arrested. Now, I've got to say something in advance of all this. There is no chance on this planet that that would ever happen. Why? Because for something to be somebody to be extradited to the UK from another country, the law in the UK says, and I've read it on the statute, right, that there has to be a crime equivalent in in the country that that person is residing in. And the example I want to give is murder. If murder's, a crime in both countries, if you commit a murder and then run to the States, you will be extradited from that on that because murder is a crime in the US as well. Right. Okay. Speaking about what the UK population may or may not do and commenting on the riots or anything like that by an American citizen is not a crime in the US, and you will never, ever, ever be extradited. America has some of the most robust first laws protecting free speech, something that England does not have, but America does. So it is not a crime for Elon Musk to sit there and spout, as any American citizen. You can criticize the UK, you can criticize them, you can do whatever you want. You are protected by your free speech in the US, which means you will never, ever be extradited. I mean, why this man said this, I don't know. We are going to find out why. Maybe he was told to, maybe he was getting a bit carried away. Anyway, let's grab hold of him and find out where we go.
All right, I've got him. I've got him. First thing that comes through, highly neurotic, very nervous, and doesn't make decisions very well.
Probably why he was chosen then.
Why do you think you were chosen to be the commissioner of the Metropolitan Police? Because I'm good at my job, he says.
Okay. All right.
Did you spend a lot of time on the beat? A fair amount of time. Okay. But like how many years? 5 years?
Okay.
Were you on the beat for 5 years? He's saying like maybe 4 or 5 years. And
Okay,
was
so he had, all right, well, he's had some beat experience. I mean, that's better than being fast tracked straight from university. So
well, right.
hang on, if he's doing his job so well, why is knife crime up so much in London? I mean, it's in the UK, but I mean, under his responsibility as the commissioner of the Met Police, under his jurisdiction, why is knife crime up unbelievable amounts to the point where in certain areas it's not even safe to walk now?
Why is knife crime up under your leadership? He's saying to me, it has to be a whole system. It's not just down to the police, it has to be everyone involved, the government, the mayor, in order to strategically get the knives off the street. Um, he
Oh,
believes like people are, so this is what he's saying. He's saying to me, like, we have no backing, we have no support. They only use us when they want us, and then they discard us, right? Then they turn on us. So, actually, to be fair, Mr. Shakespeare, that's true.
yes, I know they're used as political pawns when it suits the establishment. I know that. But that's part of the ticket that you sign up to when you become a serving police officer, unfortunately. I mean, they have just jailed a kid for 2.5 years for saying something online. I mean, if they picked up everybody that's carrying a knife and put them in prison for 10 years, making a strong message, a bit like what Mayor Giuliani did in New York when he cleaned up New York.
Mm-hmm.
He had zero tolerance of just about everything, and New York became safe again. Yeah, which it wasn't prior to him. Why don't they institute something? At the end of the day, he is the head of the police. All the Met can port back up to him. You know, so if he really wants to do something, if he wants to make London safe, if he wants to get rid of knife crime and things like that, which is massively on the increase,
Oh,
and
it is. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's got a point to say that other people have got to be involved, other agencies, the mayor. Well, the mayor's hopeless. I mean, yeah, okay. Um, so he's almost part of the problem, not the solution. But why doesn't he have like a zero tolerance policy towards something like that? The problem is English people are not allowed to be armed. We do not have any Second Amendment type protection. So if somebody comes at you, you know, with a knife, or you want to report a knife crime, you report it to the police. You don't report it to a supermarket or to the mayor of London. You report it to the police. Then what do they do about it? Nothing in most cases. We've seen running battles and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's you know,
Yeah. And
so why what is he's saying that he can't do much about it because he's used but I mean that's just a cop out, isn't it?
so let's ask, why don't you have a zero tolerance policing policy when it comes to knife crime? Because we're overworked, and what else? They don't have the staff, they don't have the government backing. It has to be a government backed agenda, and then we enforce it. But the
Okay.
government doesn't seem to be enforcing this very well.
Well,
I don't understand that answer
well, nor
because,
do I, because the government are not. I mean, they can tell him black is white, green is blue, or whatever. But these are the guys that are on the edge. These are the guys that wear the uniform. These are the guys that go out and I mean, they're bothering people for so-called hate crime or complaint. I mean, they're investigating that. They've got so many people that are that are
well,
diversity and inclusion officers. Why do we need those? How do they stop you against knife crime? I
well,
mean,
I mean, look, when we worked for the police, the biggest, well, the knife crime was really up and coming right as we, sort of left,
hmm,
which was, God, quite a few years ago now. But the biggest problem when we were there was burglary. And burglary is a massive problem in London, huge.
hmm,
And even then, they would not, just because you were burgled didn't mean you were going to get a police officer at your door,
no,
right? The only time you were really going to get a police officer at your door if you were burgled is if the burglary was actually taking place as the call was being made, right? Or if there was violence during the burglary or something
right.
like
But what I'm
that.
saying
But if
is the
if
pri
it, hold on, if it was just a bog standard burglary,
hmm,
you were in a queue, and you were going to talk to an officer over the phone, and then we would send the SOCO, which is the scenes of crime officer, around, do the fingerprint. Maybe the burglar broke a window and it cut his arm or whatever. Grab some blood samples, things like that, and it went into the database, and you got your crime number, and that was it to report on your insurance. So now knife crime is up considerably, to the point where, when we go to London to visit family, I don't even let my teenage son walk unaccompanied around London. Like, I would never do that. First of all, he doesn't look like he's street smart. He looks like he's grown up in the States. So that's a problem. That makes him a target. But so let's ask this question. Don't you think that you're more importantly, you should be cleaning up knife crime and burglaries and street robberies instead of going after these people behind a keyboard? No, he just told me no.
well, there you go. So he's
Why?
not fit. He is not fit for purpose for this job, then.
Right. And I'm going to ask him, but why? Why? Because they're easy arrests. So are you telling me, and also they're trying to make a stand, a political statement. So
Yeah.
this is very political. Who told you to go after these keyboard warriors? Starmer. There you go. Starmer told him.
Okay. All right. Well, that does not surprise me. And he's saying that it's an easier arrest. Okay, so his numbers look good. Meanwhile, the average London has to live in abject fear that some machete wielding lunatic is going to be around the corner. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that that's all over the country. I mean, what goes in London first then replicates all throughout the United Kingdom. So we're seeing copycats in, Bradford, in Birmingham, in Manchester, all these things on a. I mean, everywhere is copycatting London. Maybe not on the same scale, the same size, but that's what happens, and he's part of it. Now, how can he? It beggars belief. I mean, how can somebody posting some comment online be a threat in the way that a man with a knife in the street is?
Let's ask him. So, how can you say that someone posting a comment online is a bigger threat than someone armed with a knife in the street? They are. Okay, why? Why? Because it's about mob mentality, inciting hatred and violence. He thinks that by controlling the keyboard warriors, that he's going to stop the protests. So let's ask this question. When Keir Starmer told you to go after these people behind a keyboard, did you then try to bargain with him and say, well, okay, we can do this, but we need more money, we need more manpower, we need, more police on the streets? Did you at any time have that conversation with him? No, he takes orders. He
Of course he
is
does.
he's taking orders.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He's a
that
leader.
would have been a perfect opportunity at that point to then bargain with Starmer.
Well, the problem you've got there is that, to make the ultimate point, if he wanted to bargain with Starmer or negotiate with Starmer and say, look, I'm not doing this unless you give me more officers, more money, more this, that, and the other, and Starmer
Yeah.
says it's your job, get on with it, his only other option is to resign. Now, I don't know what kind of salary he gets, but it's pretty high, and he ain't going
Yeah.
to get it anywhere else, I can tell you. So, at
Well,
the end of the day, the order makers are always the ones that tell the order takers what to do, and they always come, with the checkbook attached. He's probably on 2 to 3, 400,000 a year. I don't know what he's on. Don't
well,
care.
let's
But
ask him. Let's ask him.
all right.
All right. How much do you make per year? 100,000 pounds higher, 200,000 pounds higher, 300,000 pounds. He makes in between, so 250, a little bit higher than 250, 275, a little bit lower. So he makes just over 250,000 pounds per year. Now,
Right.
bearing in mind, that's going to be taxed at what,
40?
40?
Oh yeah, he'll get taxed. Yeah, that's fine. But the
That's
point
going to
is,
be taxed.
yeah, of course, he's getting it. Yeah, I think all police commissioners, there is a pay scale actually, even for these people. And yes, they're on about 250,000, 270, whatever. Okay, that's not a bad salary. It's not the world's biggest salary. I mean,
It's a
you know,
lot for London, and it's a lot
it's
for
not
police
bad. He
officers.
can live on that all day long. We know that. And his pension is guaranteed and everything. He is not going, he doesn't look like or appear to me the kind of person that would give it all up to make a point against Starmer. Because at the end of the day, he also knows that if he doesn't do it and he does resign, he'll have his 15 minutes of fame and he can say why, and that's be good on him. And he'd probably go up in people's standing, but then he would just be replaced with another lackey who does exactly the same. Pretty much is that if you say anything against the government narrative, they can charge you.
So well, that's scary. So let's ask
Yeah.
this question. I have some questions for him because, I still have a lot of friends that are still working for the police. Morale is low. It's low. It's never been lower. Okay. So let's ask him this question. Do you realize that morale is low within the police? Yes, he's fully aware of that. And what are you going to change? What are you going to do to change it? Nothing he can do. They need to just get on with it. So the reason morale is low is you can't do anything right. It's almost as if we're trying to, and I noticed this before I left, it was ridiculous. They want you to be like robot. There's no backing from the management, and that's across the board. That's even in the USA as well now. Everybody's got a phone in your face. Everybody's challenging you. You got YouTube people following the police around, agitating them. Now you're not seeing the longevity that you used to. A lot of people used to join the police in London, and that was it. They were going to go in and do their 30 years. That was their career. They don't do that anymore. You're lucky if you get an officer to last more than 2 or 3 years. So with such high turnover, that street knowledge and that ability to help your, lesser in service colleagues is practically gone. It's chaotic. So let's ask this question. What are you going to do to ensure that your police officers want to stay in the job for the full 30 years? Because knowledge is power. And this is a type of job where the longer you spend on the street, on, being faced with all these situations, the more you know how to deal with them, instead of somebody who's just got, a few weeks in training. How are you going to keep them in the police service? If they want to leave, they want to leave. That's what he just said. If they want to leave, they want to leave. So are you actually, like, do you really want to be police commissioner? Yes, he does. Why? Why do you want to be the police commissioner? Because I like running the police service. But do you think you're doing a good job? I'm doing an excellent job. I can't figure this guy out, to be honest.
Right.
I don't know what else to ask him. I mean, he's being blindly, I don't know. He doesn't see any fault in what he's doing. I just don't get
Let's
it.
ask him why he made the statement about extraditing Americans. Did he think before he said that? Or, I mean, why did he make that statement?
Why did you make the statement about extraditing Americans? Because it's true. What are you planning to do it? If we have to, yes. And how are you going to do that? Have you spoken with the US government? No. Have you spoken with any US diplomatic representatives in London? Yes. And have you spoken to them about Elon Musk? Oh, yes. So are you planning to charge Elon Musk? No. They don't legally, he's telling me, they don't legally have the recourse to charge him.
Or any American. So why did he make the statement then? If he knows that they can't, does he understand that it would be impossible for him to extradite an American for something an American said online in America?
Do you realize that it would be impossible for you to extradite somebody something an American said online? No, it's not impossible, he says.
He says he's not no legal recourse, but now he's contradicting himself by saying he can extradite. Does he not understand that it has to be a crime in both? According to UK law, something has to be a crime in both countries. It might be a crime or so-called crime in England. It is not a crime in America.
Do you realize that it has to be a crime in both countries? No, it only has to be a crime over here.
Oh my God.
So,
Well, he's flat out wrong. I've read the legislation. It really does have to be a crime in both countries. So, if if an American citizen says that, there's going to be a riot or there's going to be this or there's going to be something in America, which is not a crime over there, you cannot extradite.
do you believe that you have the right to prosecute Elon Musk? Not at the moment. Are you trying to? They are definitely working. Are you working with CPS? Yes, they are. They are working with the Crown Prosecution Service. The head, is it the head of the, yes, and how they're going to enforce this. They're not messing around here. And is it
Well,
the
I'm sure they're going to try and enforce it against UK citizens, but I mean, that's just part of the march towards communism and everything else. Does he realize that what he's doing here is suppressing free speech, freedom of speech, and it's another step towards communism in the UK? Does he
you,
realize this?
let's ask him, do you realize that what you are actually doing is suppressing free speech? No. And you are making this like communist. It's another step towards the UK being communist. Oh, he just told me bollocks. That's what he just said to me. I
Okay.
swear to God, he said that.
No, that's fine. Well, maybe because he just doesn't know. The problem
Well,
is he's not a critical thinker, is he?
and that's probably why he's in the job.
Of course. Order
I was
order
looking.
makers want order takers. They do not want to be questioned. So, he's on a huge salary. He does what he's told. Doesn't care about his officers, doesn't care about knife crime. All he cares about is keyboard warriors. because he's pleasing his political masters.
Let's ask him. Let's ask him. Do you actually care about the serious crimes in and around the London Metropolitan Police area? Do you actually care about knife crime? There you go. He said no. Do you actually care about rape and burglary and street robberies? No. This is all political. Are you politically inclined to? So, which way do you vote at the polls? Do you vote Tory? No. He votes Labor.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Not that it should really
Unfortunately,
matter
though,
either way.
if you look at history of the Soviet Union as it was infected with communism, I mean, you know, they have people like he'd be a commissar and he'd be doing exactly the same for Soviet Russia. Russia is not communist anymore, hasn't been for many years, but it certainly was for, 1917 or whatever it was till 1989. And these are exactly the kind of political party hacks that there would be. That they only follow the one agenda, they don't care about anything else. And what he's just said is he doesn't care about knife crime, burglary, or rape, or anything like that. All he cares about is keyboard warriors. I mean,
Well, he cares about. So let's ask this question. How do you feel about Keir Starmer? Oh, he's great. He loves Keir Starmer. Is that because Keir Starmer used to be a prosecutor? Oh, yes. I mean, it's almost sycophantic when I tune into him about Keir Starmer. Like, I feel the love pouring out of his chest for Keir Starmer. How did you feel about Rishi? Oh, he liked Rishi too. How do you feel about Khan? Oh, yeah. This guy, okay, now it makes sense, right? This guy is a politician. He's a
right.
politician. He's not a police officer. He is a politician because when I'm asking him about all these people, it's almost euphoric that he's
Yeah.
roaming around in these types of circles and he's talking to all these big people in power. And it's almost like I'm serious. It's a feeling of euphoria. Like, look at me. I'm this, I'm that. And he just does what they tell him to do.
Does he
So
like Joe? Does he like Joe Biden?
do you like Joe Biden? No, he doesn't like Joe Biden. Do you like Trump? No, he spat at me when I said, do you like Trump? Do you
Does he
like
like? Does
go
he
on?
like Kamala Harris?
Do you like Kamala Harris? Oh, he loves her. He loves her. Have you spoken to her? No. What about the EU? Do you like the EU? He loves the EU. Do you think that it was a mistake for the UK to pull out of Europe? No, no,
Hmm.
he doesn't. And I'm saying why? Because he has more power.
Yes, but isn't most of his stuff subject to review by the Court of European Human Rights and Justice, or whatever it's called? I can't remember. I think
Isn't isn't the police subjected to the European Court of Human Rights? Yes, but he points to Keir on that level. And that's for the government. I mean, they're just the enforcers, right? They don't make the laws. Do you ever suggest to Keir or make any suggestions to the prime minister, whether it's Starmer or whether it was Rishi Sunak? Did you ever make any suggestions of what the police would need or how to make policing better in the UK or in London? Did you make any suggestions? No, no. It's business as usual with him. He's not a radical. He's not willing to change what goes on in the streets. He's not willing to shake up the police service. He's not willing to do any of that. He's not a radical. He is status quo.
Hmm. Yeah,
And that's what they like.
of
That is
course.
exactly what they like. And this is why the morale sinks lower and lower and lower each and every year with the people that work for the Metropolitan Police, because they're being led by people that are not willing to stand up to the government, stand up to the politicians, make bold statements in support of the employees and staff and officers of the Metropolitan Police. And that's why people don't want to work for the police. I mean, they're not there for the pay. I can tell you that. It's a lot of hard work and it's a thankless job. And it's fun, it's interesting, it's certainly diverse, but you know that wears off after a while. After a few years of that, it tends to fade out. And now you need someone who supports you, and you need a leader who can lead. This is the problem.
What's a couple of last questions? What are his thoughts about George Orwell?
What are your thoughts about George Orwell? He just stuck his finger down his throat. What do you think about facial recognition CCTV cameras? Now, when I said that to him, he just rubbed his hands together like, ooh, you know, in anticipation. Okay. Why did you just rub your hands together? Oh, he loves that. He loves
Well, of course, he's a statist, and that's a tool of the state. What does he think about Margaret Thatcher? Or what does he, I mean, does he have any thoughts about her? I know she's gone, but does he have any thoughts about Margaret Thatcher?
What do you think about Margaret Thatcher? No, he hates her. He hates her.
Okay.
Okay. Are you planning to put facial recognition cameras in around London? Everywhere. He wants facial recognition cameras and what in every street, just about every street in London, right? Now that is so dangerous. I found that shocking when I was there in April. People were talking about facial recognition cameras. So I don't think people outside of London or outside of the UK understand how much they are on camera. It's as if internet and camera and all of this has taken over. They found a new way to police people instead of face-to-face policing. And basically, you walk outside of your home in London, most likely you're going to be on the camera. You're walking to the shop, you're on the camera, you're spending on your debit card. They know exactly what you're buying and what you're doing. And then you're taking your groceries, you're shopping back home. They're watching you on the camera. And then they see, so they will know and be able to track every single thing you do with these facial recognition cameras. So let me ask him, do you care about being watched from the second you leave your front door to the second you go and do your errands and then you come back? No, that's the way it should be. Now that was his answer.
Um, why does he operate a two-tier policing policy in the metropolitan area?
Why do you operate a two-tier policing policy in the police? He's been told to.
Who
Do you
told him?
believe it's a two-tier system? I know it's a two-tier system, he says. I know it
Yeah,
is.
but
And who
who
told
told him?
you?
Who
Starmer.
told him? Oh, right. Hmm.
Do you
Does
take
he
orders
believe? Does he believe that the rank and file officers within the Metropolitan Police are all on board with two-tier policing?
Do you believe that the rank and file officers that are on board with the Metropolitan Police are on board with the two-tier policing? No, I know they're not, but it's their job and they have to do it. What do you think if you, because this is another problem. The police can't go on strike,
Yeah.
right? It's forbidden. So you can't have these officers walking out en masse to make a change in policy. It doesn't have, they look to a leader, you know, like him to make policy changes. He's not going to do that. They're
No, not at
forbidden to
all.
strike. They can't just not turn up. They can get in a lot of trouble for that.
No, but they could leave. Does he think that as the effects of two-tier policing take hold, more and more officers will just leave?
Do you think the effects, as the effects of two-tier policing take hold, that more officers will just leave? So what? That was his response. Now, I have to ask, what do you think about this fast track system? He thinks it's brilliant. Now, that's scary in itself. When what the fast track system is, it's basically if you have a university degree that is comparable, or you have worked a job that maybe gives you some managerial experience, they're fast tracking you in so you don't have to spend any time like starting out on street duties, which is the, training and arresting people like shoplifters and doing warrants and things like that, and working in the jail, right? Because you do have people posted to the jail, and you do have people posted to the front office, and you do have prisoner watch and all of that, right? Those are all the grunt work that people, generally have to do within their first few years, and then they work themselves up to like response car driver, and then they can go on and specialize. Um, what do you think about the fact that these fast track do not have that experience? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He just said to me, I don't care. He believes that their knowledge is good for policing. And I'm saying, but they're not getting any street experience. So what? He doesn't care. This guy is a disaster.
Right.
Do you care about the police on the streets? Some of them. Do you care about mental health and within your, your lower police officers that have mental health crisis? Do you care? Yes, he does. That's what he says. And how do you help them? We make services available to them.
Okay.
So let's ask this question. I'm sorry, this is going on. I'm going to bring in Queen Elizabeth here. Do you like him? No. Is he going to be commissioner for a while? He is. So this guy's not going away anytime soon. He's going to do a good 4 or 5 years, and then he'll retire.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a problem. All right. Anything else from you, Mr. Shakespeare?
No, I think we've covered everything we need to know with this guy.
Yeah, really. Oh, dear. All right. We'll stop this one here.